second way that you can find out your internal score is if you've ever applied for any sort of product with Navy Federal and you got denied, then you receive a letter in the mail. On the back of that letter in the mail, it gives you your internal score.
If you have not joined our free Facebook private group, Business Credit Secrets for Entrepreneurs, Financial Freedom for Entrepreneurs and Established Business Owners, then you need to click that link down below so you can get all of the news first. We talk all about business credit in the group. I just opened this group a week ago, so we are going to do some amazing things in there. So if you have not had a chance, please click that link down below and join the group now.
We have screen name Darling A. Question is, I have an internal FCU score of 302. What is the average? Is this good or bad? So I would say 302 is good. It's not great. So to answer that question, 450 is the highest internal score that you can have with Navy Federal. And I know a lot of people ask me, how do I find my internal score? Now, sometimes, not very often, if you have the portal, if you have a Navy Federal login and you have a portal, you can message them in the portal and ask them, tell them that you're looking to, maybe apply for a mortgage or looking to apply for a loan or a line of credit. And you just want to know what your standing is with Navy Federal and if they can provide you your internal score. Now, they are not required to do that. So it depends on the agent that you get, whether they will actually give you the score or not. But this is the second way that you can find out your internal score is if you've ever applied for any sort of product with Navy Federal and you got denied, then you receive a letter in the mail. On the back of that letter in the mail, it gives you your internal score. So that's how I actually found out my internal score. So if you guys watched my previous videos about Navy Federal and I told you guys how I was trying to get a credit limit increase and I got denied, that's how I found out my internal score. And key with that is just because you've been denied, if anyone here has been denied, that does not mean that that's set in stone. You can always get a reconsideration. That's how I increased my credit limit $15,000 overnight. Is I applied for a reconsideration. I told them, hey, I don't think the information that you have is accurate. Take a look at this, and then they approved me. So if you've ever been denied specifically with any bank, every single bank, every single credit card has something called a reconsideration line. So you guys write that down. Reconsideration line. It's a number that you can call. You can call them and say, hey, I was denied for this credit limit increase or for this credit card or for this loan. And these are the reasons you said that I was denied. And I don't agree with these reasons. I want a reconsideration. Now, if you contact the reconsideration line, you should have those items that they stated were the reasons you were denied. You should have supporting evidence as to why that's inaccurate. So, for example, with me, I was denied and they said it was because I didn't have enough money in the account for what I was requesting. So guess what I did? All I did was make sure that at that time, I had $10,000 in the account. So when I called the reconsideration line, I told them, hey, look back at my checking account. I have $10,000 in there. They approved me right away. So definitely, if you did not know that before, write that down. If you've ever been denied or if you've ever been denied a credit limit increase, you can always be reconsidered. Okay. All right. So let's see. Fearless 908. How long do you think it usually takes to get a 450 internal score? So there's literally people who got to 450 in like a year or less. So a lot of people jumped on this Navy Federal train when it became popular on social media. I was grandfathered into Navy Federal because I come from a military family. So I've been a Navy Federal customer many, many years prior, a whole decade prior to it being on YouTube. And at that time, I didn't know about an internal score. I had no clue about it. I just knew I had auto loans with Navy Federal. I had credit card with Navy Federal. I had a checking account, a savings account, a direct deposit. I had all the products outside of a mortgage that you could have with Navy Federal. Hence why my internal score was 450. But Fearless 908, I believe that as long as you set up a checking, a savings, and you have a regular direct deposit, you start to get their products. So credit card, I always say start off with the credit card because it's the easiest thing to get. Then after the credit card, the next easiest thing to get is like a personal loan or a one of those home improvement loans. That's another very easy product to get. So I would say start off with the checkings, the savings, and the credit card. And then oh yeah, okay, perfect. Fearless 908. So you have all that because you have a personal loan. Perfect. So you just see if you can message them in the portal and ask them what your internal score is. If they won't give it to you, then you're going to have to be able to get it in the mail. That's the only two ways you can get your internal score. It's from Philip Tibbs. It says, I've been a member of Navy Federal for 5 years. I have a cash rewards visa, checking, and savings account, easygoing money certificate, and direct deposit monthly. My internal score is 300. What else can I do to increase the debt ratio? So if your internal score is only 300, have you ever been late with them? So your internal score is also similar to your credit score in the sense of if you have Navy Federal products and you're always late paying your bills, or you've been delinquent in your accounts, you've been overdrawn in your accounts, that stuff counts towards your internal scores. So if you don't know, you always want to make sure that you put those bills on auto payment for the minimum. One thing that you always want to do is you always want to put your payments on automatic payment for the minimum. And let me tell you why. Not only because you may forget to pay a bill, you may be a day late or 2 days late, but also when there's banking holidays and your payment is meant to come out, let's say like New Year's. Let's say your payment is due on the 1st and you always pay on the 1st, but New Year's you will have to have paid that before, probably on the 29th, December 29th. And if you do not do that, then you're going to have a late payment. And those late payments affect your internal scores. And just so you know, every bank has an internal score. Now, credit unions rely heavily on their internal scores, but every single bank has an internal score. So you want to be sure that your internal scores are good with all of the banks that you have. It's from JC1. And the question is, where's the pre-approval tool hidden? All right, so I'm going to make a video about that. So JC1, I'm going to make a video on how you get pre-qualified for products with Navy Federal. I'm speaking about Navy Federal when I'm talking about pre-qualification tools. However, there are other banks who have pre-qualification tools. So you guys write this down. So American Express has a pre-approval tool. Theirs is not even a pre-qualification. Theirs is a pre-approval. So American Express has one. Another bank that has one is Discover. Discover has a pre-approval. Capital One has a pre-qualification. So there are different products that you can use and different banks that you can use. The Apple Card. If you are you have an iPhone, you're an Apple user, you have a MacBook, and you have the Apple Card, you can get pre-approved or pre-approved with them as well. So there's a bunch of different banks, different lending products that you can actually find out if you're going to get approved or not way before you can apply. So that way you don't waste a hard inquiry on applying for something that you are not going to get approved of. This is KDale2240. Can you have a non-for-profit or a sole proprietorship to get a Navy Federal business card? All right. So that is actually, so to answer your question, yes, you can have a non-for-profit with the Navy Federal. You can definitely have a non-for-profit with Navy Federal. They do accept those. Now, with a sole proprietorship, it depends on how your business is set up. Like, are you set up legally? Or are you just going in saying, my name is KDale2240 and I'm a business and I want to open a bank account? No, that's not how Navy Federal works. You have to be legally registered with the state and the federal government in order to get an account with Navy Federal on the business side. Same thing with your non-for-profit. It needs to be registered with the state. It needs to be registered with the federal government. So yes, you can, but it's depending on how you are actually set up. So I hope that answers your question, K Dale.